We'll wait just a couple more minutes here and then we'll kick it off. Right, we're going to wait 2 more minutes and then we're going to start. Can someone just put something in the chat? Is my audio okay? Everything good? All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. People can cycle in here for the next couple minutes as we kind of go through here. So I just wanted to give you a brief little agenda here of what we're going to talk about. So first, we're going to go through just a quick couple of minutes on the tools that are available for all of you that are clients right now. The resources that Plus One provides that's available for you right now, what'll be available for you in 2026, how to get to those things. And then from there, we're going to go into just a little bit of time on prompt engineering and just general AI readiness, things you can do to make sure that you're getting the output and the productivity you want out of AI. And then from there, we're going to actually go into about 6 or 7 practical examples of things that we built for clients or just pre-built use cases that you can see to understand the power of what you can do inside of your business with AI. So this, for many of you, could be the very start. Some of you may have done nothing with AI. Some of you may be, AI experts maybe, or you're just somewhere in your journey of AI. So we just want you to know that we are committed as a company to helping our clients move forward with AI and automation so that we're available to you to help you expand your AI knowledge and make sure that your firm can be the most productive firm so that you have the competitive edge against your competitors out in the field. So what tools do we have that are available for you right now? So here you'll see there's 3 main things that we have available for all of you, and all this is available right now in our training platform. So many of you guys probably use our training platform for cybersecurity awareness training, whether it's the annual training or the micro trainings that you do on a weekly basis or may not do. That same platform has 4 training classes that you can take right now, and they are adding more and more courses throughout the next couple of months and through next year So all those courses are available for you to take. We are also going to be doing in 26, we are going to be doing this webinar as a monthly recurring webinar when it comes to AI uses. Our goal is that this webinar will be sort of like an office hours. People can submit topics ahead of this webinar, and we will also go over changes to the AI landscape because there's a lot of things that are changing every day almost with all the different tools, all the different large language models, all the different AI tools built by other companies, built-in tools, when it comes to QuickBooks and all these other different software applications that are putting AI in their tools. So we'll kind of do some updates around what's available, and then also walk you through, maybe things that we've covered in a previous month, and there would be updates to those things. The second resource that's available for you is our pre-built AI prompts. So there'll be a QR code somewhere in this presentation, but you can get to them right on our website by going to our main website, going to the resources, and then there's an AI tips page. And that right now has 50 to 60 pre-built prompts that have not only the prompt, but a video that walks you through how to use that prompt. So we definitely are going to build upon that. Right now, we're trying to do 4 to 5 of those a week so that every company, every different scenario that we kind of build, we'll do a summary of that scenario out there so you can see kind of how we're doing it, how we're executing it, and what you may need to do that for your business. And the last thing is AI consulting. So right now, till the end of 25, we're offering all of our clients that are on the +1 plan free AI consulting strategy call. All you have to do is book it before the end of the year. The call doesn't have to happen by the end of the year. You just have to schedule it. So you could schedule it for some period of time next year if you're busy right now for the end of the year. But right now, that AI consulting call we're offering for free. So you can schedule that now, and we'll have a QR code, and you'll be provided a link in the follow-up email when we're all done this webinar for you to go in and book that AI consulting call. So the AI training classes that are available right now. So there's 4 classes that you'll see on your platform right now, unless they added one and I don't know about it yet. But there's a general AI awareness class. This is just kind of a little bit of what we're kind of going over today, but just your general AI awareness and a little bit of security, how staff members should be cognizant of what information they're putting into these tools and what tools they should be using and who they should be asking before they're doing this type of thing. So that course is available. There's also a course specifically on Microsoft Copilot that goes over some general stuff when it comes to Copilot uses inside of different applications, what it has access to, and that information is obviously changing pretty fluidly. So if you have a specific question or maybe something looks a little different than it did in the class, feel free to reach out because Microsoft is really changing very quickly how Copilot is working inside of 365. The next class is ChatGPT Mastery. So some of you may be using Copilot, some of you may be using ChatGPT. So there's another course in there on ChatGPT uses and kind of prompts around that and what you can do with ChatGPT. And the last one is kind of a more advanced class. So it's more advanced AI implementation, how to implement AI in your business and what to look for. And all those classes are available in the training platform, and you should all see them now. If you don't see them, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll see why maybe you don't have access to those. Here is our website QR code. So this QR code will take you right to the AI tips on our website. We've created, I believe there's 50 to 60 of them. We're adding 4 or 5 of those a week. So you can go out there, look at those prompts, see if there's something that's useful in there. We're also posting all of those prompts in all of our different social media channels. So if you don't follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, whatever your favorite social media platform is of choice, we are on most of them, and these AI prompts are being posted to those as we create them. They get uploaded to the site about a week or 2 weeks later after we create the content and it's posted. But that the social media platform is where they go first. So easiest way to see them, they get posted as they're created on there. And this AI consulting call, as I mentioned before, right now, this is included in your plan. any of you that are on a calendar year renewal or have a +1 plan renewal that happens at the end of this year, you'll notice that there is an AI package add-on that then this consulting call will be part of for the 26 renewal year. So as your contract renews, this consulting call is part of that AI package. So and all the other things that are included in that AI package are in the information when you get your renewal information. So even cooler than that AI consulting call is, we've recently hired Jessica, who is an AI and automation expert. She's been in the field for a long time, and she is with us now full time to help not only us, but our clients realize the full value of AI and automation. So she is, she's on this call here, and she will be helping us with all of this type of stuff. And she will be the ones on the consulting call along with one of us, so you can be introduced to her. But you will get to know Jessica, and you will probably see her around and helping us with all this type of video content. And she is the brains behind all of the AI and automation stuff that we will be doing. So you will hopefully all get to kind of discuss with her and have your consulting call with her. So what's included in that free consulting call? So first, we just kind of do an assessment, go over your workflows. What are the things that, individual people are doing inside of the business? What are the things that, the business as a whole needs to do? Just going through a little bit of your detailed workflows. After we do that, we get some of those workflow documented. If you're not positive of where the AI and automation opportunities will be, usually during that process, we discover where those things can be helpful. So we will help you identify the opportunities in your business for AI and automation, and then we can create a custom roadmap, make resource recommendations as to if there's pre-built tools that may solve your need that you can just go get and move on with your day. We'll also provide training resources, and then we can help manage these AI and automation implementations after they're in place. And then we can obviously answer any of your questions on what's going on for specific technologies, your specific software, if there's a line of business software that you use and you want to start using AI with that, if you want to, connect some of your different tools together and learn how that all works, that's all part of that call. And any general questions that you would have about how to implement AI in your business, that would all be in that call. And again, we'll have the information later on where you can schedule that call at your convenience. So now I just want to go over some basic things. So if we're going to use AI, especially if you've never used AI before, or maybe you're just kind of getting your feet wet, how do you do it in a way that gets you the results you want to get? So AI is awesome at efficiency and cost reduction. So basically, this is why you would want to do this. So if we strongly believe that there's going to be two companies out there, the ones that implement AI and automation successful, and the ones that are no longer in business. Because this software, this kind of approach to workflow gives you such a competitive advantage over your peers. And you can get, 40, 50, 60, some industries, they see 70% productivity gains based on being able to automate specific workflows inside of their business. So it's really a risk to your business if you don't at least see what you can do to help implement these types of solutions to make your business better. So we're going to go through what I believe are the 6 essential elements of a good AI prompt. So whenever you're prompting AI, there's 6 essential elements that we kind of frame around how to create that prompt to get the output that you're looking for. So what we're talking about is when you're going in, if you're unfamiliar with what a prompt is, when you're going into a large language model like ChatGPT, Copilot, or whatever, these are the words that you're typing to get whatever you're trying to get. So we're going to go through what we consider the 6 most important elements. And I would also say, as we go through this part of the presentation and the rest of it, if you have any questions as we're going, feel free to just pop them in the chat and I'll try to answer them as we go. And then at the very end, my goal is that we can have least 10 minutes or so to be able to do a broad-based Q&A to go through any specific questions that anybody has on anything that we present here. But feel free as we go to pop those questions in the chat, and I'll try to get them as we go. So the very first thing that you want to do when you're prompting is to be very specific. So don't use vague terms, because you got to remember that when it comes to especially the large language models, when it comes to Copilot and Perplexity and Claude and all these different large language models, the amount of data they have access to is humongous. So when you don't make very specific prompts, you can get very vague and probably non-interesting and non-helpful answers. So you want to make sure that you're very specific when you ask for things. So if you're asking for create me an email, don't say, make me an email for a prospect. Make me an email for this type of person in this particular industry who I'm trying to get to purchase Y, whatever that is. So you want to be as specific as you possibly can when it comes to prompting it for exactly what you want. So there's a couple of examples there, so explain the application of AI in healthcare and focus on diagnostics tools and patient management, so you want to use as many specific words as you can and make sure that you're telling it, this is what I'm trying to achieve. So you want to be very specific. The second is act as if. So you've probably seen this in anybody out there that's trying to sell you a prompt library or something like that. One of the very first things they do is say, you are a whatever blank social media strategist. You are a VCSO. You are a CEO of a company. The reason that you do that is to frame the response and tell the AI that you want it to review the information you're giving it or provide the output as if it was that person. So it's changing the context in which it's going to give you the results. So if you tell it to act as if it's a financial advisor or act if it's, some other job title, it's going to frame its response in a way that makes sense for that particular job title. So that is what we call act as if, giving it context around who you want it to be as it's giving you the responses or creating the output. And then the third one is to request the desired output. So what does that mean? When you're prompting it, you want to tell it exactly what you're looking for. So in the end, how big of a file do you want? How big of an answer do you want? If you're asking it to create a piece of content, do you want it to be 500 words? Do you want it to be 1 page? Do you want it to be, 400 pages? What file type do you want? Do you want a presentation? Do you want a Word document? Do you want an Excel? What format? Who's going to read this? That's also great to tell it, who is going to review this output? Is it going to be a technology person? Is it going to be your staff? Is it going to be a customer? Just giving it as much framework around what you want that output to be as possible, because it's going to get you much closer to your desired output if you give it to it from the very beginning. The next is to provide do's and don'ts. So what this means is tell it what you want it to do and what you don't want it to do. So sometimes when you ask it a question, you've probably seen where you've asked it something and it gave you almost the polar opposite of what you were trying to achieve. And you can do that by telling it to use either a certain type of language or don't include certain things. And this becomes more and more important with many of these tools now, like Copilot and ChatGPT, and even now Claude, where they have memory. So they remember what you asked it for, what you typed in it last week. They remember what you typed in 2 weeks ago. So as it builds more context around you, it's going to learn more things about you, and it's going to have more access to different information, especially if you're using Copilot or you've connected it to different information. You want to make sure that you're providing it with what information it should use and what information it shouldn't use, and what you want it to include and what you don't want it to include as far as the output goes. The next thing is provide examples. This can be extremely powerful. So if you have, let's say you wanted it to create a client engagement letter and you already have a client engagement letter, to provide it that sample. If you have, if you want to provide customer reports and you already have a very large library of customer reports that you've done in the past and you want it to be a similar format, we'll upload those customer reports as you're prompting it for what you're looking it to do. So providing examples, and you can do this with words too, or website links of, hey, here's a website that I want to mimic when we're creating our new website copy. So providing those examples to the engines, to the AI agents as you're trying to get it is going to be really powerful in getting you closer to the answer you want to get. And the last one is correct and provide feedback. So as you prompt, it's going to come back with an output. And that oftentimes the first time is not exactly what you're going to look for. So you're going to want to go back and say, all right, well, that's great, but I need this, or add a column in this Excel sheet that has this information. I will say the reason that I tell people to go through this, and you really want to make sure that you create a great prompt from the beginning, is AI is not as good at correcting as it is at generating. So it's much better if you give it kind of a paragraph from the beginning of exactly what you want than to get something and try to iterate it down, because oftentimes it'll change something else in the document or the whatever you're trying to create. It'll make another change, which then you have to correct that. And then sometimes you're 10 minutes into this conversation and you realize it's better to scrap it, start all over, and come up with a much more complete original request than it is to get, type one sentence and get some crappy output and then try to fix it, because it doesn't always keep everything else exactly the same as it's making those corrections. So that's why really putting an extra minute into the thought of exactly what you want to create before you type it is better than trying to iterate it down 7 times to get the exact output that you're looking for. So those are our 6 elements of the AI prompt. Does anybody have any questions on that before I kind of go into some real life examples here? I don't see anything. So ideal length of a prompt. So the ideal length of a prompt is the one that is the most specific. So I always tell people it depends on the content you're trying to create. So if you're trying to create sales information or email content or something like that, sometimes you can get away with 1 or 2 sentences, especially if that tool has access to your content and it knows kind of how you talk. In the beginning, you'll find if you just start using AI and you're trying to use it to respond to emails and all that type of stuff, and it doesn't have access to the full history of everything you've done, it doesn't sound like you. So getting it to sound like you, which you can do by giving it access to previous information that you've written. If you're using Copilot, it has access to your previous email, so it'll get a sense of how you initially talk. But the best prompt is the one that you can get the most specific, right out of the gate. So I would say if you can do it in 1 to 3 sentences for something that's not overly complex, that's good for sales and marketing material. If you're looking for a very specific financial report or something, formatted it in a very specific way, and you don't have an example, then oftentimes you might have to write a paragraph to get it in there. Or if you're trying to get it to do a specific workflow, it's going to have to be a much longer prompt. So let's go here to these are some real life examples of things that you can do with different AI tools that we have done to help clients, solve a particular problem. So here's an issue a client had. So to describe the issue, client has a bunch of POs they get and a bunch of invoices they get. So they create these POs to order goods from their 50 different vendors. They get invoices and they need to marry up the POs and the invoices and check them for discrepancies to see if, hey, is the invoice we got from this vendor matching up with the items on the PO? Is there anything that's different So essentially, they have a person right now that's doing this as they receive the POs. Somebody's, either opening the emails, opening the invoice in the mail, and marrying them up with the POs in their system to see, hey, what's different between these two things. So when you have a manual reconciliation problem, the biggest problem when you have a human doing it is that typically everything's fine, right? So, 97% of the time, the invoice matches the PO. This varies by industry a little bit, obviously, and how good the person that's putting the initial PO in there is. But a lot of times there's not a ton of errors. So this person's spending 97% of their time reviewing something that they're making no changes to. And it's very repetitive. Obviously, nobody's super happy about sitting there, looking at POs and invoices all the time just to marry them up. And then obviously you still have human error. Somebody can make an error when they're doing this, especially because if 97% of the time there isn't a problem and there's only a problem 3% of the time, and a human error rate, could be around 2 to 3%. So maybe they have an error when when the discrepancy happens, and it kind of throws off the whole math of this actually working for them. So how the this tool works is essentially how we started testing it is you input the PO and you input the invoice, and it basically gives you the results. Now that is not a long-term solution because you're going to have many invoices, many POs. The best way to do that is we integrate whatever platform, in this case SharePoint, to automatically pull in the POs and the invoices and then correlate them together based on, a file structure that you put into place. And then the system will automatically pull them on a recurring basis and compare them, and then create an output that says, hey, I reviewed all these invoices and all these POs. Here is the difference between these invoices and these POs. And you'll see on the screen here, this is kind of what the output looks like. So this is all fictional information. We threw in some fake invoices and some fake POs in order to generate this particular slide, but you'll see it kind of gives you the information. Hey, I reviewed this PO from this vendor. 17 out of the 20 things were right. Here's the line for the couple of products that where the pricing was wrong. And also you had the shipping information was wrong. They had shipping on the, a different number for shipping on the invoice than you had on the PO. So it gives you this nice little summary, and then this can be delivered to somebody every day instead of them having to manually review this type of information on any kind of recurring basis. So this is just provided. Now a person doesn't have to sit there and manually review those. They're just reviewing the discrepancies. So that's our first example. So the second one, this one is more for the service industry. So if you're in a service industry that has recurring customers, and your recurring customers are spread out over an area, and you want to find, hey, where are my most expensive recurring customers, right? So these are typically recurring customers that are far from other recurring customers. So what we created was basically a workflow where first we take all the customers and we do an analysis on all the customers. Let's find a radius around all the customers and identify the customers in which there is no customer within 5 to 10 minutes or whatever you want your parameter to be from that customer. So we're saying, hey, we got Bob up in the woods here, and he's 10 minutes from anybody else that we service. So when we send a truck there, our margin on Bob is much lower than it is on everyone else because we're spending gas and all the labor cost of Bob going up to just Susie's house, and nobody else lives near Susie. So, and then the goal is all right, now we have Susie's address. Now we can find whatever number you want to use. I think in this case we use 20, you could use 50, you could use 100. Find 50 to 100 addresses near Susie's house that we can create a targeted marketing to those people, because we know now if we pick up one of those people that now our margin to Susie's house is better, and our margin on that new customer is better, because now we have two people that are next to each other. And then we build on that approach, knowing that we can, not only are we gaining new customers, but we're gaining new customers in a way that they're profitable customers. So that's the kind of approach here. And this is kind of the prompt we used. I uploaded a list of my customers. I want you to find clients that are at least 5 miles from another customer and give me 20 residential addresses located within 5 minutes of those remote locations so I can market my services to them. And I'll tell you, the first prompt we used ChatGPT for. This one we use Claude for, and I'll tell you, we're actually going to be releasing some content in the next couple of weeks that compares all these different available tools and what they're better at and what they're, what specific tools are better at what specific thing. Claude is really good at using what they call tools or services in which you have to use some sort of external piece of software or maybe an API or something like that to discern information. So if you put the same prompt into ChatGPT, most of the time it's going to tell you that it needs to connect to some sort of geo system to be able to pull the GPS coordinates of your customers down, while Claude actually goes out there, finds the tool it needs, automatically just kind of installs it, starts using it, without you having to give it instructions or connect it to anything else. So that's one thing that Claude's really good at is kind of using these external connectors. So you see our output here is it's telling us there was 67 total customers on our list. Out of all those customers, we found one customer that was identified as a remote customer, and then it generated our 20 marketing leads that we asked for. And then it gives us our remote customer, how we prompted this. We also use AI tools to prompt all the sample information. So what we did is asked it to give us 67 real residential addresses with fake names. So essentially it just created fake names, but these are real actual addresses. And then it finds the latitude and longitude of these people and gives us the distance to the nearest person, which in this case was 5.03 miles. And then you'll see these are the closely identified prospects. So now we have the addresses of all these people that we can market to, and now we can send postcards or do whatever we're going to do to try to reach out to these people to market to them to help increase our margin on that particular truckload. Any questions on those first two before I move on to the third one? Okay, so, and again, we'll open this fully up to the all kinds of questions at the very end. This next example was something we built because it was actually a problem that we had internally, is that there's no easy way in QuickBooks Online to determine how long you've been working with a particular customer. You'd think that would be a very basic thing to pull off, but it wasn't something that we could figure out how to do in any kind of an easy way. So what we did is we just exported all of our transaction data from QuickBooks, which is a very large file, but for AI, it doesn't matter. That's one of the great things about AI, is that it can consume large amounts of data in a very small amount of time. So we exported all of our sale data for 20 years out of QuickBooks Online and basically uploaded it with this prompt that says, this document contains all of our sales information for each of our clients. I need you to use the sales data to find the first sale date and determine how many years we've done business with that client, and then create an Excel document with the client name and how many years we've done business with them. And it gave us a great Excel sheet of all of our customers' names and exactly how many years we've done business with them. So this is a great prompt in which you can take a ton of what I would consider raw data and get a very specific metric and have it delivered very quickly. And this is something where if you wanted to have a KPI in your business for a report where you want to know what the average length of your customer is, you want to know how long you've been in business, working with a particular customer, you could automate this to have this appear on some sort of regular report or some sort of information that you're providing to your customer. But this is a great way using your raw financial data and be able to just kind of easily know how long you've been working with a particular customer. The next example is, let's say we wanted to get a list of all of the file folders that we have in a particular SharePoint document or library. So this could be, hey, we want to reorganize our file structure. I need to know what we have. So this generates a list of either all the folders, all the files, however you want to do it. And then it gives them to you in whatever format you would want it. So if you want it in Excel, you want it, in a Word document, however you want the information, you would just ask it for. And essentially it will give you, a complete file inventory. So that allows you to do quick document search. We all know that sometimes if you try to search a large folder with tons of documents in it, sometimes it's hard for Microsoft's built-in Explorer to find that file data. So if you want, this is one way that you could easily find a document. It also facilitates reorganization. So if you want to say, hey, our file structure sucks, or we're growing as a company and we need to reorganize the way we have things, this would give you that list that hey, we need to reorganize this and create a document to do it. And then you can obviously use it also to identify redundant files. So if you're looking for, hey, we're using up a ton of disk space on whatever, whether it's a server VM, an on-premise server, a workstation, why are we using up so much? And this would give you a full list of all the files and folders in that library to be able to see what's going on, where is everything inside of each of those folders. And the last one, this is a great prompt for anybody. I believe you may even be able to use this on the free version of Copilot, but this is awesome I share this with our internal team, and I use this almost every day. This is a great prompt for you to sort of end your day with, because it gives you the ability to kind of check, hey, before I leave, is there anything I need to do? Or before I check out for the day? So the prompt is basically, it says, I'm about to end my day. Summarize all the emails I received today into a single report by urgent, needs a reply today, important, can wait 48 hours, and FYI. And draft short replies for the urgent ones in my tone of voice. So what this does is, before you kind of check out for the day and you don't want to scroll through your whole inbox and you just want to see what are the things that I need to address right now, what do I need to address, tomorrow, the next day, and what do I maybe not even need to address at all because it's somebody trying to sell me something, and then give you draft replies where you can go look at them. I always tell people you need to make sure that you're reading anything that AI's delivering, because it may not sound like you, may not have, the right tone of voice or whatever, but you need to read it. But this is the great way to make sure that you don't miss anything before you kind of clock out for the day, to make sure that you have everything in order. And it also gives you a little bit of peace of mind knowing that you didn't miss something in your inbox, because you kind of ran this and right off the bat whether there's something that you need to address or not. 6 is AI-powered lead qualification using ICP analysis, which is really a crazy title, huh? But what does that really mean? So a lot of companies will purchase marketing lists, or they'll get a list of prospects from some source. Maybe they're purchasing a list of 10,000 or whatever. They've got this list of contacts, and they want to know, how do they sort that so that it's actually useful? So the prompt that we use in this case is, I'm uploading a list of leads in my area. Can you add a column and let me know which leads are in my ICP? And my ICP is, and if you don't know what ICP is, it's your client profile. It's basically who you as a company want to work with. So you would say, I want to work with doctors, or I want to work with whoever, and it would basically go through that list and identify who is in that ICP, create a column that says, these are the people I believe are in the industry you're looking for, or whatever, fit the sample size you're looking for. And this is really great to help you start, whittling down a list, and different tools, depending on which one you use, will scrape that data differently. And you can tell it how you would want to do it. So if you want it, it'll take a little bit longer, but if you wanted to go out to the internet and basically research each of those companies individually, because if you're looking for things like employee count, that's not something that it's going to be able to find with kind of a weak web search. Like it's going to have to do a little bit more deep research. So you can use the deep research functionality inside of ChatGPT or some of these other tools. Copilot has a deep research one. In ChatGPT, you see it by hitting the little plus. In Copilot, I believe you see it by selecting the deep, I think they call it deep research or something like that. You select that agent when you go to search, and then it'll do this deep research of these companies to pull this information out. Now, is it going to be 100% accurate? Probably not, because it's all based on what's on the internet. But is it way better than a person sitting there trying to do this list cleaning for 2 hours, 3 hours, 20 hours to clean a criteria list? It's way better than that. So this is a great way if you have a tons of list of prospects and you want to sort them in a specific way. And the last one is, this is for accountants, but you could actually use this for any type of business when it comes to, hey, I have this piece of information that I have to review for my customer, and I want to do it without somebody having to sit there and review each piece of it. So you'll see in here, we basically say, hey, here's a P&L for my client. I want you to give me these specific things. I'm not going to read it all to you because you can see it on the screen, but basically I want you to give me 3 talking points: an opportunity, a concern, an insight, and then it just goes through like, hey, review these things and give me this information out of it. And all these AI tools are awesome at looking at information and providing you information back. We'll say Claude is really good at creating SOPs. So when it comes to creating knowledge base or creating technical standard operating procedures for your team, Claude is great at that. When it comes to this type of thing, when you're creating these reports, I would say most of them, ChatGPT, Copilot, they're all going to kind of give you similar information. It all just depends on how much they have access to. But this is a great way for you to kind of go in there with, hey, I need to review this information. I want to provide my client with something of real value off of these reports that we generally generate for them, and give us something to talk about. So you're providing just a much higher value than just kind of going through the report and saying, oh, here's your P&L, here's your costs, and all those types of things. So this should be example 8, not 7, because I put this one here at the last minute, but this is one that we've started rolling out to a lot of our clients. So we will take all of your technology stack, basically all of the things and the services that we provide you, and then all of your policies, all of your procedures, and we load them into a custom GPT. And then anytime you get hit with a insurance questionnaire, whether it's cyber insurance or a vendor questionnaire or HIPAA or CMMC or FINRA or compliance audit or any of these other people that want you to answer an external questions about things you do, we can run it through this agent to give us basically a first draft of the responses. We don't just pull these out of here and hand them to you. We take them and we look at all the responses and make sure that all of it looks correct, but it allows us and you, because we will soon be making this customer facing, in which you guys can all see the answers to it, but this will give you the ability to kind of get quick answers. And it also provides references. So when it says, somebody's asking you, do you have EDR? And the answer is, yes, I have EDR. And it'll tell you, you have EDR because basically Plus One Technology is providing that service to you. And we're very explicit about how we tell it to answer questions, because, and this is kind of a broad thing that we have to make sure that we understand with AI, and a little bit of a fallacy as to the way it exists, but AI was built to make us happy. So the first thing it always tries to do is to provide an answer, which is why most of the time, in the very beginning, we had a lot of hallucinations, because it basically wants to give you an answer. So if it doesn't know, it kind of freaks out and just says, well, I'll just come up with something. And there's ways that you can prompt AI to not have it do that by giving explicit instructions just to use information that only you've provided and stuff like that. So we do that in these compliance GPTs that we built. And essentially our goal is to help facilitate answers to these questionnaires much faster because we get so many of them all the time, and they're only getting longer, not shorter. And we don't want to be the kind of the holdup in your your prospecting and your sales engine. So that's why we're kind of building these solutions out there. And what's nice is it's referencing material we're giving it. So it's very easy for AI to kind of, read through documents when it can find an explicit answer and provide it. So as we went through all those examples, there were 8 of them there. We just want to kind of go over a couple like high level things here. And that is, very first thing is you always double check for accuracy. The easiest way to do this is when you prompt, you ask it to cite the information. So when you say, hey, what is the tax code for Wisconsin, or something like that, and ask it to provide the link to the information it is providing. You could do the same thing with, hey, if you're uploading a 145-page PDF report and you're asking it for a question on that, ask it to provide you the explicit line and information inside of that PDF where it's finding that, because then you can go look and say, yes, all right, it says that, we're good. So you always want to double check for accuracy, especially if you're in the beginning and you're kind of experimenting with a solution. You want to just make sure that, hey, the information it's providing is correct. And that's where we get the source. And then obviously you want to direct the context. So if you're providing it a document and you want it to answer questions on that document, make sure you're explicitly saying answer questions only with information in this document, because now that all these agents, many of them are web connected, they can go pull information from other places. You want to make sure that you're providing it, hey, I want information only from this particular place when you give me the answer. Because often if you don't say that, it can't find the answer in the particular place you're asking it to, it's going to go get it somewhere else, and that may not be the answer you're looking for. So how do you do this? What is the best thing to do? The very first thing I'll tell you is that as we review more and more workflows and issues inside of companies to help improve productivity and efficiency, a lot of times the answer isn't AI, it's just a better process. Sometimes workflows, especially with companies that have been in business for a long time, when they finally sit down and review the step-by-step of how a workflow is working, they realize that, hey, maybe this isn't just the best way to do it, even though we've been doing it this way for 20 years. That there's a much better, more efficient way to do these particular things. So as you go through it, you'll realize that maybe this isn't AI, and a lot of times the answer is more on the automation side. So when we're talking about automation, the difference between AI and automation is a lot of times automation is just, hey, I need to get information from this system to this system. There isn't any thinking involved. I just need to move it from here to here, and it's always going to be that way. I don't need an AI agent or anything like that in the middle. I just need to, when I update a phone number in this system, I needed to go to these 4 other systems. That's automation. So that's just repeating things. A lot of times it's connecting different pieces of software. If you have a technology stack where you have customer information in 4 to 5 different systems and they don't talk to each other, just connecting those systems can save you so much time and money, because now when you update Bob's phone number in one system, it's automatically updated in all your other systems, whether it's your CRM, your line of business software, your shipping software, whatever software you're using, to be able to just automate that data delivery to all those different systems. And a lot of times we're talking to firms about integrating as much of their systems to talk to each other as possible, because that's where you find real value, not only in productivity, but accuracy. Because now if somebody updates a phone number, it goes to all those different systems. They're not worried about, oh, well, that one doesn't always have the right information on it or something like that. So it's critical to kind of look at all the options when you're looking at systems inside of your business. So when you want to do this, the very first thing when it comes to an AI action plan is figure out the pain points. Are there things in the business that people are complaining about right now that are slow, that are bottlenecks, that are holding up business, that are making us slower? Those are the things you want to start with. And always start small. Don't start with something, if you haven't done anything like this, that's going to rock the boat of everybody in the company from day one, and you're going to figure out how to implement AI and redo your entire line of business software. I would pick something much smaller and implement it well, and make sure you can measure the results. So if we say this task is going to save us 20 minutes of Sally's workday, make sure that Sally saved 20 minutes when you're done. And it didn't somehow come up with, now Sally's spending 25 minutes to do a task that used to take her 20 because of some other thing that we introduced in there that we didn't think we were going to have to. So you want to make sure that you're leveraging, actually looking at the ROI of everything that you're implementing. And then leverage the existing resources, leverage us, level those pre-built prompts, leverage the training, and measure it. And then maintain, like, you still need to have your people in the loop and make sure that they're giving you feedback, and that you approach this from, hey, look, we're not looking to implement AI to replace people. We're looking to implement AI to make everybody's life better. So you're not doing mundane things that you didn't want to do, so that people are spending more of their time doing high value things that people need to be doing, and not just, just copying phone numbers from one system to another, or finding lead information, or all the different kind of use cases we went over today, and there's a million more. So these are kind of the next steps. As we go through these next couple of slides, feel free to start putting your questions in the chat, and then I'll address this as I kind of go over these last couple of housekeeping things. So visit our AI tips page. I had the QR code for that. Book the AI consulting call. Doesn't cost you a dime. Access all your free training. And identify one person. I would say identify at least one person in your company that's going to be kind of the AI or automation person, to at least have the conversation with everybody else. That's going to talk to the team, see what might be available. Identify that person that can be kind of your AI hero inside of the company. And then start experimenting, obviously in a safe way. You need to use tools that are approved by the company. If you're running the company, you need to, if you haven't already reached out to us about which AI tools you should be using, reach out to us. We can recommend which ones you can use, how to use it safely, all that type of stuff. Next thing is, if you guys could take this is a quick 3-question survey. If you just scan that, it's going to take you to a system called Slido, and then it's going to just ask you 3 questions. This is how we make sure that we build these webinars so they're powerful and people find value in what we're presenting and try to make them better. So if you could scan that and fill out those 3 questions, that would be awesome. We'll also send this out as a follow-up. And if there's anything that isn't in there that you want to just provide feedback with, feel free to email me or anybody on the Plus One side, and we'll make sure that feedback gets back to everybody when we're creating these presentations, to make sure that we're just providing the most amount of value as we possibly can. Last one is if second to last one is, if you found any value in this, we would really appreciate it if you give us a review, if this was made sense to you, if it was helpful in any way whatsoever. We would love that. And is there anybody that has any questions about anything we went over, or any general AI questions? We got like 5 minutes left here. I can answer anything you want me to answer. You just pop it in the chat or the QA. Can look at either one. And the very last QR code here is, if you want to book that free AI consulting call and you didn't grab it earlier, feel free to use that QR code to book that. Here, we'll also send that link out in all the other, in the follow-up email. All right. Any other questions? If there's no questions, I think that's it. So, really appreciate everybody showing up. I hope you got some value out of this. If you have any questions about this, feel free to email me. We're here. We're available. We want to help. We want to do whatever we can to help you guys grow your business and become more successful. That's why we're here. So feel free to contact us in any way possible. And if I don't talk to you guys, have a great weekend.